Brenton, I was just talking with the guys before. I think this is one of your youngest teams, maybe one of the Crows' youngest in terms of your oldest players, only 27. I think this week.
Yeah, I think Eddie Betts and maybe Richard Douglas will be our two most experienced and I guess oldest. If 26 and 27 is old, but yeah, we're taking a young side up, and but that's, I mean, you take up a side that you expect to win and play well, so that's what we'll do this week.
Have you worked out in your own mind who comes in for J-Pod and Thompson?
No, we'll finalise the 22 or the 23 that travel. We'll do that at 2 o'clock this afternoon. So yeah, teams will come out, I guess, 4:30.
Sando, in a season where you've struggled for consistency, now last week's result makes it a little bit trickier to get into the eight. How can you manufacture, 4 wins on the trot and a consistent finish to get a final spot?
We'll have to just take it contest by contest. Ultimately, I know that's the football cliche that people don't like when it gets rolled out, but ultimately we have to prepare for our next opponent. This week we've got Brisbane on the road, which is a tough trip. They've been their form after starting 1 and 9 has actually been pretty solid, and it's always a challenge to go up there. But we know that our form, if we can replicate it for long enough, we're a hard side to beat. But as you've mentioned, the challenge has been for the majority of the season has been consistency, and hopefully we get 4 quarters of a solid performance on Sunday.
How far away is Scott Thompson?
As I mentioned last week, unfortunately he's going to be almost a week-to-week proposition for us. He's got some of that back neural referral type soreness, which where once again in last week's game he was unable to get to top speed with his power. So for the coach, the medical team, and for Scott, we just felt that even though it was an 8-day break, we just couldn't get him in a position this week where we could be confident that he could get through the 4 quarters. So he'll train over the weekend. He'll prepare to play against Richmond next week. But once again, we'll have to make a decision later next week.
And J-Pod, the nose, was more than anything?
Combination of lots of things. He got that whack in the back last week. He's been carrying that elbow since the Collingwood game. Broken nose. He's just a bit banged up. So as much as he really wanted to play, and I'd love for him to play, he's not 100% fit going into this game. So we've got a pretty good depth with our injuries. Hardigan, Van Berlo were the only really 2 now. We get Kerridge back this week, and also Lewis Johnston. So I'd rather play a player who's 100% and jumping out of his skin ready to play.
You'll finalise your squad obviously later today, but have you worked out whether Matt Crouch will make his debut with Brad?
Yeah, he'll be close. His form's been really solid in the state league. He's and a lot of people will argue that he's the like for like a bit with Scott Thompson, and I think eventually when Scott Thompson doesn't play for the Crows anymore, Matt Crouch will just flourish in that role that Scott Thompson sort of made his own over the last sort of 10 or 12 seasons. But we really value Matt Crouch. He's a great young player. He's going to be a star for us, like his brother is. But yeah, we might see them both together. We might not on the weekend.
How does J-Pod's out affect you structurally?
Well, we've played with 3 genuine bigs since Walker's been back, even 4 or 3.5 if you want to, with Tom Lynch. So we'll have to sort of change the way that we move the ball a little bit. We won't be able to dump it as long anymore. We've had an advantage in some of our wins this year of having really strong contest ahead of the ball. But the way that we structure up will depend on the 22 that we end up taking up there. But we have got some options that we can roll through there.
Brendan, can I take you through that long-running debate? Should you tag? A serious tag, like with the old definition of it. Like
yeah.
If a Rockcliffe is your major threat, that you do sit on?
Yeah, Rockcliffe. Brisbane have got some great players who are in good form, and Rockcliffe and Hanley are probably the 2 that stand out and what most sides will look at. Some weeks you don't tag any. A lot of clubs don't tag. We normally tag 1 per week. If you do any more than 1, it typically breaks your structure at stoppage. So if you follow 2, they can manipulate that how they want to. Most clubs do Dangerfield or Sloane for us. So yeah, it is a debate that we have at match committee each week. Who's the most damaging player, whether it's an inside player or an outside player.
Is there also a debate as to who's your best tag?
No, we Douglas did a very good job on Pendlebury against Collingwood. Douglas didn't do such a good job against Shuey last week. Gaff was able to run outside the contest. He beat McKay and Sloane on the outside. So that hasn't happened very often. You know, Sloan and McKay haven't been beaten on the wings too often. If I knew what was going to happen, we would have tagged Gaff and gone head-to-head with Shuey, but we went into the game thinking Shuey was the more influential one. Pritis got off the leash. We put Sloan to Pritis in the second half. We ended up running with Hearn in the second half as well with Laird, so we were chasing our tail a little bit. We ended up following or tagging probably 3 or 4 players, which is not how we prefer to do it.